Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's Wednesday, September 23rd, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyun. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. In an address to the UN General Assembly, South Korean President Moon Jae-in called for a formal declaration to end the 1950-53 Korean War, stressing that peace in Northeast Asia will begin with the declaration. South Korea's rival parties passed the government's fourth extra budget of the year worth $6.7 billion aimed at cushioning the economic impact of COVID-19. In the United States, saw its COVID-19 death toll exceed 200,000 on Tuesday, becoming the world's highest. And the British Prime Minister unveiled stricter nationwide measures as the country sees a massive resurgence in cases. Now we start with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 110 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, seeing the number of daily infections return to triple digits after 3 days below 100. Of the newly confirmed cases, 99 were locally transmitted and 11 were from overseas, bringing the total number of cases to over 23,200. Despite the surge, the number of critically ill dropped Wednesday, with no new deaths being reported from the virus. The death toll stands at 388. South Korea's rival parties gave the green light to the government's fourth extra budget of the year to fund more COVID-19 relief. Worth $6.7 billion, the budget partially includes the contentious discounts on phone bills proposed by the ruling Democratic Party and free flu vaccinations, as insisted on by the opposition. Our Lee Kyung-eun reports.
The National Assembly has approved the government's fourth extra budget of 2020, aimed at providing COVID-19 relief before the country's Chuseok Thanksgiving holiday starts next week. Worth some $6.7 billion, the budget plan was passed Tuesday after the ruling Democratic Party and the main opposition People Power Party reached a last-minute agreement, with both sides making concessions.
We thank the People Power Party for making efforts to swiftly pass the plan. The government will execute the projects immediately so that people can receive the assistance before Chuseok.
The 8-point scheme includes a hotly debated plan to hand out mobile phone bill subsidies, as was suggested by the ruling DP. But the scope has been reduced from the previous everyone over 13 years old, a compromise the party made for the opposition. The money left over from the change will partially be funneled toward providing free flu vaccines for some disabled people and those on low incomes, largely reflecting the opposition party's request. It will also be assigned to stocking up on COVID-19 vaccines for roughly 20% of the country's population. And childcare support has been expanded to include middle schoolers. Late-night entertainment businesses that have been hit hard by the strengthened distancing measure will get double the assistance other small merchants get. Taxi drivers, medical staff, and children from families in low-income brackets will also receive assistance. The latest budget marks the first time in 59 years that there has been a fourth extra budget within a 12-month period. It also set a record for being the fastest budget to be passed, taking just 11 days. It was also the first time that lawmakers have agreed on a bill and passed it on the same day. Both parties say this swift process was possible because of bipartisan cooperation, with lawmakers putting people's lives before politics. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
President Moon Jae-in has called for a formal declaration to end the 1950-53 Korean War. In his address to the UN General Assembly just a matter of hours ago, he said peace on the Korean Peninsula and Northeast Asia will begin with the declaration. The South Korean leader also reiterated his call for cooperation against COVID-19 with North Korea and Seoul's other Asian neighbors. Our Blue House correspondent Kim Min-ji reports.
A declaration to end the Korean War will open the door to complete denuclearization and permanent peace on the Korean Peninsula. That's according to President Moon Jae-in at the 75th session of the UN General Assembly. Stressing the war must end completely and for good, President Moon asserted the peace on the peninsula can also help ensure cordial relations in Northeast Asia.
종전선언을 통해 화해와 번영의 시대로 전진할 수 있도록 유엔과 국제사회에도 힘을 모아주길 바랍니다. 한반도의 평화는 동북아시아의 평화를 보장하고 나아가 세계 질서의 변화에 긍정적으로 작용할 것입니다.
President Moon's remarks are seen as a gesture to get the peace process back on track amid a prolonged standstill in inter-Korean relations and no significant progress in denuclearization talks between North Korea and the U.S. since the no-deal Hanoi summit. The call for an end-of-war declaration, however, is in contrast to Washington's position. The corresponding measures have to come with the North's denuclearization. But the clock is ticking for a meaningful breakthrough, considering President Moon's time left in office and the U.S. presidential election in November. Moon also vowed to do Seoul's part by continuing dialogue with Pyongyang, asking for support and cooperation from the international community. Noting that the two Koreas are bound as one community, President Moon said the COVID-19 crisis has shown that security and safety of one country now requires cooperation that transcends borders. To that end, the president reiterated his call for healthcare cooperation and proposed the launch of a body comprising South Korea's close neighbors.
북한을 포함해 중국과 일본, 몽골, 한국이 함께 참여하는 동북아시아 방역보건 협력체를 제안합니다. 여러 나라가 함께 생명을 지키고 안전을 보장하는 협력체는 북한이 국제사회와의 다자적 협력으로 안보를 보장받는 토대가 될 것입니다.
President Moon said he wishes to share not only Seoul's COVID-19 response, but also the invaluable lessons it will gain from institutionalizing peace, in turn buttressing the UN's efforts to maintain international peace through collective measures. 김민지, Arirang News.
A number of global leaders took to the stage of the UN General Assembly in a virtual manner, submitting pre-recorded speeches. U.S. President Donald Trump bluntly criticized China for its lax response to the COVID-19 outbreak. Chinese President Xi Jinping, meanwhile, said Beijing doesn't want to see the pandemic become a political punching bag. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
The leaders of the U.S. and China clashed over accountability for the coronavirus pandemic during the 75th UN General Assembly, which was held virtually for the first time in history. President Trump began his pre-recorded speech by calling COVID-19, quote, the China virus, adding it has claimed countless lives across the world. His strong rhetoric continued as he urged the UN to hold Beijing accountable for the pandemic.
As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. In the earliest days of the virus, China locked down travel domestically while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world.
Instead of mentioning North Korea, President Trump continued to lash out against Beijing during his speech, which was shorter than many of his international counterparts. He emphasized how the U.S. has reduced carbon emissions by more than any country, even after withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, highlighting that China's rampant pollution does more to damage the environment. He also stressed how Washington has had to fight against Beijing's trade abuses for the past 2 decades. Chinese President Xi Jinping could not refute to what his American counterpart had said, as he was not there physically. However, Beijing's ambassador to the UN responded directly while introducing Xi's video message, saying China rejects a groundless accusation against the country. Chinese President Xi Jinping, meanwhile, highlighted the crucial role of the World Health Organization in combating the pandemic, in stark contrast to President Trump, who described the organization as being virtually controlled by Beijing.
You should follow the guidance of science, give full play to the leading role of the World Health Organization, and launch a joint international response to beat this pandemic. Any attempt to politicize the issue or stigmatization must be rejected.
Although he did not explicitly mention the United States, Xi also explained that Beijing has no intention to fight either a Cold War or a hot one with any country. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Another grim milestone, COVID-19 has now killed more than 200,000 people in the United States. And with the UK seeing a massive resurgence in cases, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has unveiled strict nationwide measures in a bid to get the situation under control. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
The United States has reached another somber milestone on the COVID-19 front as the country saw its death toll exceed 200,000 on Tuesday. The number is far higher than any other country in the world. Since the first known COVID-19 death was reported in the U.S. on February 6th, the country has seen an average of 858 COVID-19 deaths a day. According to the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, COVID-19 is now the second leading cause of death in the U.S., just after heart disease. In a much grimmer comparison, the virus has now killed more people in the U.S. than American troops killed in battle during the 5 most recent wars combined, including the Korean War and the Vietnam War. Over the Atlantic, Prime Minister Boris Johnson called on the British public to comply with new rules in order to avoid tougher restrictions that would lead to another lockdown.
So today I set out a package of tougher measures in England. Early closing for pubs, bars, table service only, closing businesses that are not COVID secure, expanding the use of face coverings, new fines for those that fail to comply, once again asking office workers to work from home if they can, while enforcing the rule of 6 indoors and outdoors. A tougher package of national measures combined with the potential for tougher local restrictions for areas already in lockdown.
His remarks come after the British government on Monday raised its COVID-19 alert status to level 4, the country's second highest level. Level 4 means an epidemic is in general circulation and transmission is high or rising exponentially. Similar levels were put in place during the lockdown Johnson imposed in March. While the country will not see a full lockdown, it's certainly an abrupt reversal in message from the British government, which had previously urged people to return to work and hit the shops. 이승재, Arirang News.
Korean boy band BTS has been nominated again as top group and top social artist at the BILLBOARD Music Awards. If the band wins the Top Duo Group Award, they will become only the second act to receive the honor for 2 years in a row following One Direction. BTS has already taken the Top Social Artist Award home for 3 years in a row since 2017. The results will be announced at an event in October. The group is continuing its momentum on the music chart with its latest single, Dynamite, sitting pretty at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 for the past 2 weeks after debuting at number 1. BTS has also been invited to deliver a second speech at the UN General Assembly on Wednesday.
Good morning. Autumn rain is in the forecast for the East Coast and Jeju over the next couple of days, while it's going to be cloudy over inland regions. So parts of Gangwon-do province will see heavy rain into Saturday, while Jeju Island will see 5 to 20 millimeters of rainfall after midnight. And there are large temperature changes between day and night, and many come down with a cold when the seasons change. Health experts say the temperature shifts allow a different group of viruses to thrive, and it's these viruses that make people get sick. So be aware of that and take well care of yourself. The top readings will be slightly lower than yesterday, hovering below the season norms in the low 20s in most parts of the country this afternoon. And rain on the East Coast will linger into Saturday, while dry and sunny weather is in store for inland regions for another 10 days or so. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.